Welcome, Rich Hoops pod fans. A gigantic trade between the Knicks and Clippers was just shut down. We didn't hear a lot about it because Damian Lillard is everywhere, but this deal would have broke the internet. The Knicks weren't considering Paul George for Obi Toppin, Quentin Grimes, Evan Fournier, and 3 first-round picks. But the Clippers said, we don't want to be. We want RJ Barrett. The Knicks were considering that, but Paul George ruined it. KW and PG were the best big two in the West recently. They were favorites to win the title multiple years. But now the window is closing and they are desperate. We just got new KW news that is a huge red flag for his future. So what are the Clippers doing? Well, the big rumor is James Harden. As soon as the Beard demanded out of Philly, the Clippers became the favorite to land him. Reports said KW and PG were on board. Not many other teams want him, so the price is low. So why is he still a Sixer? Because Damian Lillard wants out. The Clippers believe they have a real shot at Dame. So Harden is on hold. Dame is obviously the much better player, especially in the postseason. But do the Clippers even have enough? Actually, they might. Their best offer is Damian Lillard. For Terrence Mann, Bones Allen, Marcus Morris for salary. 3 firsts and 2 swaps, including one from Phoenix via the Nets for Norman Powell. I'm sorry, that is a legit offer for Dame. So it makes sense the Clippers are holding on Harden. But Dame wants Miami. The Clippers will probably get Harden. The worst possible star if you want to win a chip. Once again, he flamed out in the playoffs, going 3 for 11 in a Game 7 with 5 turnovers. Imagine him with Russell Westbrook on the same team. This isn't a few years ago on the Rockets. At this point, both horrible defense do not move off the ball. How desperate can you get? Well, this window with KW and PG is almost shut, if it's not already. They don't want the PG trade to be the worst in NBA history. The deal for Paul George sent okay. This guy, who could be an MP Hyundai. Jalen Williams, who was first-team All-Rookie, a future All-Star. We don't even know what the other 5 picks and swaps will be. And all the end to show for it is a second-round blown 3-1 lead in the bubble. Our conference finals they lost because KW was injured. Just like the first round last year and a missed playoffs entirely in 2022. So do not be the worst trade ever. They are considering James Harden. Dude with more trade demands than anyone ever. But there's one other big reason for this. The Clippers have a plan to create another super team. I'll explain how they do it. But Harden is good for one thing. Playmaking. He led the league in assists last year in his first full season. As a Sixer, Joel Embiid won, but in the regular season, he is an elite point guard, which the Clippers have never had in this era. Point guard's been a mess. First, it was Reggie Jackson. They tried John Wall, Russell Westbrook to finally have an elite playmaker. Would be an amazing thing for this roster. But there's one other plus, his contract. Harden's on a 1-year deal which lines up with KW and Paul George. None of these stars could be on this team as soon as next year. Esman recently said the biggest subplot in the NBA not enough people are talking about is Kawhi Leonard and Paul George being extension eligible. I don't think based on what I've heard that if these guys walk on the door and ask for 4-year max extensions, I don't think the Clippers are just giving it to them. What? They could just let them both leave the team. What would they have left? A ton of cap space. With that, they could sign at least 2 max free agents next summer. Guys to consider. Stars like LeBron James, Klay Thompson, Jaylen Brown, Pascal Siakam, and Anthony Davis. Near stars like Drew Holiday, DeMar DeRozan, and DeJounte Murray. Role players like Tyrese Maxey, Kate Bruce Brown, Buddy Hield, and Og Anunoby. All those guys could replace KW and PG on the Clippers. Lia's new $2 billion stadium opens next year. They can't walk in there with a rebuilding team. They need stars. If Kawhi and PG are old and broken down, they've got a way out by letting them walk. Besides, when all their picks go into OKC, they can't rebuild through the draft anyway. But there is one other option. What if they keep either Kawhi or PG and replace the other guy? A new big two of Kawhi and Pascal Siakam, PG and Aid. But who did they keep? To me, it's obvious. Paul George was just in trade rumors. But they should let go of Kawhi Leonard. We just got news that is awful for his future. In the first round of the playoffs, Kawhi hurt his knee game 1 against the Suns. He played through that injury game 2, but then missed the rest of the playoffs. On the court, he was amazing, but this came out of nowhere. Kawhi's knee is so fragile, it can go in any minute. So a month after the season, he'd get another surgery. The Clippers said, we expect him 100, ready for training camp. Just to clean up, win terrific, very quick procedure. It feels great. Oh, that's awesome. But remember what Brian Windhorst said? I will say this, and if 15 years covering the NBA has taught me anything, is that there's no such thing as a minor knee surgery, and especially with Kawhi Leonard. I watched Brian Sutera's latest YouTube video on this, and it's disturbing. He says cleanup procedures can refer to shaving away loose cartilage. That cartilage is there for a reason to protect the knee from future damage. And the more a person has that stripped away with cleanups, the less the body can protect itself. Okay, I can get back on the court quicker. But if his knee is even less stable than before, that is a nightmare scenario. Moving on from Kawhi and replacing him with another star is obvious. I know Paul George also has injury issues. They feel more like little fluke things. Snapped his leg at 25 years old, had an elbow issue 2 years ago. This year, he randomly hyperextended his knee before the playoffs. I would bet on PG's health every day over Kawhi's. But unless they get lucky and trade for Dame, James Harden is about to be on this team, which shows how desperate they are. He's their only hope of adding legit star talent, despite being a failure in the playoffs. But in 1 year, all their vet players come off the books, and the Clippers have a ton of options. The new CBA was made to tear down big spenders like them, but they can avoid all that by making big moves next offseason. But the main reason they don't want to re-sign Kawhi and PG is that new CB. If they extend those guys to huge max contracts, it puts them really close to the danger zone of that second apron. Then a ton of penalties that make it impossible to build the roster. Basically, just minimum contracts and re-signing your own guys. Oh, and that can work if your stars are prime young players, who can go for more years. The Clippers are the opposite of that. So if Kawhi and PG demand a new deal, they could potentially demand a trade to a team that'll pay up. There's so much that can go wrong this next season, so they're bringing in Harden as one last desperate attempt to win a ring. It's kind of like the Warriors who have 1 year with P3 to win a ring. And if it doesn't work, they'll redo the roster. But at least the Dubs have late prime Steph Curry locked in. The Clippers are the most desperate team in the NBA.